So you're both very welcome to Queally's.
Go back it. Thanks very much.
Great to have you both in here. So the purpose is just for everyone to come in, share a few tunes and talk about their experience in Irish traditional music. So I might start off with a softball question and tell me how you got involved with traditional music in the first place, how you got into it.
I'll probably go first because mine is far less interesting. Growing up in An Rinn, Clancy, my brothers played before me, Pax and Cormac, and then I suppose I started learning the whistle first and the fiddle in primary school with Adiiye taught the fiddle and Bobby Gardner taught the tin whistle and the accordion, but I just did the tin whistle. And then after that, just local lessons with loads of different musicians, like Peter O'Connor taught me the fiddle and the mandolin. I got into the mandolin because of Clancy and Andy Irvine was obsessed with them. And then after that, we had Sean and Queally for kind of lessons, instrumental lessons like the bouzouki and stuff, but just general kind of learning tunes and stuff. And that's kind of most of it.
Do your parents play?
Our dad used to play the saxophone and the clarinet, and he's mostly a jazz musician. But our mom doesn't play. But they're both kind of involved with sloga and stuff. So a lot of their friends would have been musicians. So they would have given us tips and stuff growing up as well.
So yeah, all the brothers got into it at the same time then.
Yeah. Pax I think started playing the fiddle when he's 3, and Cormac, I don't know, I can't probably similar. And then we all played the fiddle first, and then I took to when I was about 4 or 5, I think.
Great. And what about yourself, Victoria?
So I played music since I was younger, like classical music. When I was 9 or 10, we got iPod Nanos for Christmas, and my parents put like every type of music on the iPad because they had a philosophy that like you should be able to play whatever type of music you want once you have like a basis in like good technique or whatever. So anyways, it was like it was like a part of our homeschool assignment to listen through everything and decide what we liked. All 3 of us went away separately. All the 3 of us came back listening to Irish music. So my dad begrudgingly was like, oh, I guess we could try to figure out how to play that music as an American family living in Uganda in East Africa. So YouTube and lots of listening. Lots of Googling.
And did you have instruments then?
So I was playing classical guitar at the time, and my older sister was playing flute and my younger sister was playing violin. So she got a wooden flute and I got a steel string guitar, and we kind of just went from there.
And so what happened then? What was the progression then after that?
Well, we played together for ages at home. Like we would find tunes online and learn them and just sets off albums and stuff, and we played together kind of as a band. And then we moved back to America when I was 15, and there's a great Irish music scene in Minnesota where I landed, and so I ended up starting taking lessons at the Centre for Irish Music with Dahi Sproul and Brian Miller on the banjo, and getting involved in the group Queues and the Queally bands and all that. So I just kept playing. It was a weird place to go at 15 from Uganda to America, and the funny thing was the one consistent thing was Irish music. You know, you land and you straight away have a community because you're playing music, and so I kind of kept at it. My sisters kind of gave it up, but it's they still pick up a few tunes every now and then when they're at home. So.
And what was it about the sound of Irish music that drew you to it in the first place?
I don't know. My dad has 4 older sisters that are all in a bluegrass band that toured around like all the bluegrass festivals back in, like, they're from Texas, so they would. But I grew up around that, and my dad hated it. He was not involved in the bluegrass band at all. He was like a classical musician, so that's what he got us started on. But I think when I was like 3, we were still living in Minnesota, and my mom taught like a Bible study on a Wednesday night, and I think he took us to Queally's. So I think it was like deep, like we liked the dancing, and then when we heard the music we were like, oh yeah, I don't know, we all fell in love with it. And there's something about, I don't know what it is about the, like, especially songs, my sisters and I used to sing together, and there's something about Irish traditional songs that like really suited the three of us singing together. Maybe it was just the familiarity to bluegrass, but it wasn't bluegrass, I don't know.
Oh, amazing. And you're lucky with teachers like Brian and Di.
Yeah, very lucky we landed on our feet.
And you're both multi-instrumentalists as well. Tell me about the fiddle and the bouzouki. What drew you to them?
Like I said, yeah, we started playing the fiddle, but I was always kind of, we had like the Clancy Live 2004 DVD. Well, it was actually like a VCR taken from the TV. So I used to listen to that all the time. So I loved the bouzouki, especially Andy Irvine's playing. So I started playing the mandolin, and then I got a bouzouki when I was a bit older than that. But I think it was just, again, kind of like a early memory. We used to listen to like the Mist-Covered Mountain and probably like a compilation Planksty album a lot. So I think just that sound of the bouzouki was just always in my head. I really liked it. I think it's kind of mad now sometimes. But then I kind of stopped playing the fiddle for a while. Not stopped, but I just didn't play it much. And then when I was like 14, I started getting back into it again. Because I took a workshop with Jesse Smith. So that kind of got me back into that.
You hear touches of Jesse in your playing?
Yeah, he's great. I love Jesse's playing.
And then what was it like? Was it helpful, I suppose, to have brothers in the house that played music that gave you something to accompany?
Yeah, well, I think that sometimes recently, because like I think sometimes when I practiced on my own, I was probably learning just like Andy Irvine songs, and it was more actually just the way I think that when I started playing the bouzouki, it's probably my dad encouraged too that it would be nice to have like a harmony kind of backup or backing or whatever you want to call it with the lads playing. So it was just kind of a social thing more than anything, and I suppose I just really took to it. I really liked accompanying people, and especially like when you listen to Andy Irvine, he's kind of like improvising his own tunes over what Liam O'Flynn was playing and stuff, and only laying down kind of more solid chords or whatever. So I think that just touched me, just the freedom of being able to take the tunes and do kind of different stuff with them, change how they feel, like, you know. So yeah, I love accompanying. It's great.
Yeah. And tell me about the scene in Minnesota. What was there, like, you're talking about a vibrant music scene there? Was it mainly musicians who were there all the time, or was it visiting tutors, or what was the...
There's a lot of musicians who are there all the time, and there's like weekly sessions, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, kind of like there's different options. I think the main thing that like was so exciting for me is I listened to Elton all growing up, but my dad used to rip the audio off of clips on YouTube because our internet was like a dial-up speed internet and you couldn't actually watch the video. So we used to always be listening to Elton especially, and when we landed in Minnesota, we'd been there for about a week, and the Irish Fair of Minnesota, I don't know the actual name, was on that the next week or something, and we sat into a session, and my sisters ended up abandoning me, and so I was sitting in the session on my own, and my dad leaned over and whispered in my ear, "See that person over there? That's Daithí Spruill. You've been listening to him like ever since you started listening to Irish music." So it was kind of a surreal moment to be like, oh my goodness, this is like, there's the scene here is so, it was like founded by people who have so much to give, and then the other side of that is especially Daithí is just so generous with his knowledge, and he's teaching songs, guitar, fiddle, Irish, like anyone who wants to learn. He's just so interested in passing on the tradition, and he's just such a wealth of knowledge. So I think that there's obviously a lot of like our generation than the generation above us who play Irish music in Minnesota, which is the helpful thing of kind of keeping it alive. But there's actually, with like Daithí and Paddy O'Brien lives in Minnesota as well, and James Kelly would have been there for a while. So there's a good kind of history of Irish music being in Minnesota, I think.
Yeah, there's nearly a legacy piece there of
yeah, and there's been people working really hard for years, like there's more names than I could name, but Kate and Jodie Dowling and Nora Rendell and Brian Miller, and they've been working every year for years and years and years to bring people over every year, new people, which it just, that amount of like turnover of kids learning new tunes, kids turning into adults who are teaching kids, it actually, like the depth I think you find in foreign countries that play Irish music, there'll be like a really niche repertoire from like one person that went over, which that could have happened very easily. Do you know, James, Paddy and Daithí go over and everyone plays that repertoire, but because there's been such a turnover of such a wide variety of musicians from like, you walk down the hall in the Centre for Irish Music and there's posters of every different musician that's come over the years, and so those tunes that they taught are like kept going, so there's the repertoire is actually huge in comparison, I think.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's like a little nugget pocket of
yes, it's the results of a lot of hard work from a lot of people over the years. Yeah.
Do you fancy playing another tune?
Yeah, do you want to play a tune? Yeah, we play the
tune. Do a tune, right?
Yeah, we play a tune.
Ceis gom orsa a Scoil mas féidir.
Yeah.
Aberlum mar An Rinn.
Oh yeah, agus in Ceolan.
Ceol.
Yeah, so ha Ceol's Ryan an a larger fad agus vi agus to Shanna football and Gael tele. Stocha Ksula ein actually ha tradition on as an ton ha dine on so ha tradition larger o Niklas Tobin agus near Bas and Ryan de Laura so kaidach ach saber na Daisha Richard Hinderberg galore dine bich Richard de Hinderberg den of Anachid Oberkarten actually ach an son ha dine mar dut me aber lehe di Macdara Ó Faoláin Kirana Galvan Maintri Ariel Fiaun McGill chode William Clancy na Chonis Ryan so agus Donald Clancy vach na dine sa stocha gur yen an Ryan Chahul mar áit trí chuine bheith gír tachta seint lo so swinium an dine san chomáile sin bhí an Scoil an a láidir bhíoch aní chealaigh mar fríomhide agus bhí Mihála Súlamáin agus go ceoltóirí agsúla teacht síos mar lu man is stocha go sé chudínta go leir an áitina agsúla seáid na cathrach ach a beirt láig an í bheith sé rocha dínta meach muinteir ceol seachans na bunscoilne so bhí Kevi Chafi Bobby Gardner mar dut me Garrod Lira and son vi Mary Rafferty in le Mike Rafferty in Ugson cause yeah vi goni rang in a brescia stuff vi tradition how an ichtas doch in die stager fos ha Sean McCrath agus Maintri Chealaigh mar lu me ha ten tradition son si chofada le Niklas Tobin agus River Vich kan ha sé sin fad sa chartan mar so dífse ach is toch go chair sin is mó den óg san áit a hainin nu a chanan tuiscovil heis an tradiisiún san an rud stoch an nachfra náisiúile
agus so defáil plóir na ceoltóirí
cinnte agus is toch a rud nachs míon daine rovinnice ach gus bhfuil fáilte rivin ceols na títáine Vich an Mooney go ber Mooney's a fin rintas vi sure Donnchadha gaf mak a vi hasselroep is danu ach chomáile ha tig tiny vinnig Mooney's fós annas ha fairtí an a hócala an go agus tigi bhuirithe agus tigin ceol vi an McQueen vich si siúla gan tigin ceol so stom go muinn sé sin leis chomá go fáilte bhléine seint stocha gurt rud túthe sin nach joha siúisteach ein ceam den de pobl ein lás ír an bhaitha burt a haint agus bheith mí a fáitrát agus sent má go duchach daine síos an bóthar chut so is áit an speisiad sé seás
gan dat áirtíir leiche sé an Ryan ach an deirfá mar dúéis an hastíal áráníochta an láidir sa cheantar an deirfá go bhfuil stíl cheol sa cheantar leis
is tóir go mííon beidir níos mó inspiráidiún déh mthe seachta seach déh stílín ceol aber mé héin a gaiise le prangstíú Macdara Ó Faoláin de tugach an gáileh so stocha gur thug sé siúdánach chud pert áitina agsúla chomáile sin bhíocht na múntóirí a tacht so seans go béim ar repertoire chandéin chlár le Bobby bhíoch múine agus repertoire chuí le Garrod Lira rud eile has haimúil is stocha ná inún Garváin há le bmhthir le bhíoch tradiisiún mór polcaí cosú le Queally as bhí Mickey Dalton agus Sean Fitzgerald bhí sé seint polcaí annachchasú sin si hain seamas ó bheith riochéad so stocha go sin sa haimúil as fós aber an máile chuibh há tradiisiún na ranca sete an bhór as bhíoch set na rinne an agus is longa serólas ag an McQueen is cúpa denach sé sais caiilte níor a chuségant níor annach le tradiisiún an dása a chuségant ach a tradiisiún in ceol fósáidir agus so mí nach chuir béim ar fort seachas rian ag an chláir is níos mó béim ar 6 na trún agsúla agus is don go stíle le tachtach ach nadidir sean go dangte sin óna háráin agus chumáil sin nach lína láidir nás Macdara is Ciarán is lína ha chur rihim ar lethe stuff is gurrás má lehéad so a gaiiste lei sin
agus deir fág bhfuil stíl na háirte go gibh se ag go agus ag de ratharcha.
Is beidir is dócha is dócha beidir tuis há clinne sein so nuair hagan gachtain na chéad is rain i bríonn ceol go hana bhla chéile ach fós cluisisin dú na canúntí agsúla fiú leis stig de spás bug mar sin ach is dócha nach rud a chluisisin dú héine do nach nuair na bhí mí tús an tána dhéint has cluisisin tú aber Seán is Pax agus Paddy Fahey agus Neil Byrne aber seinte chéile bheith tuis leanúnachas le stíl na fiddler agus speisialta. Agus nuair sin tú le ceoltóirí a tháinig ófort láirge le seanéidir éirí bhíolúnta and stuff is féidir beidir chuide sin na chluisiint.
Yes. Victoria, so you're a fantastic banjo player, but you also play guitar, and would you play tunes on the guitar as well?
Guitar is actually, I would consider my main instrument. I started playing banjo in 2017. I got roped into a Queally band thing, but I was playing the guitar since I was since I was allowed to pick a second instrument after the piano. So I do anything I can on the guitar. Like it's I suppose I think I would have accompanied my sisters growing up playing tunes, but I would have always played tunes on the guitar that I mean that would suit the guitar, I suppose. Yeah.
And I personally biased in this, invested in this question, but how do you approach developing your own style on the guitar? Like in a way, it's sort of a blank canvas. Do you know, it's not like you have a massive tradition coming behind you, like a huge fiddle tradition or something like that. You have some guitar players who have influenced certain things, but how do you approach your own?
I suppose I try not to think about it too much. I suppose I've listened to a lot of accompanists and kind of closely listened to the reasoning behind what they're doing. I think the most important thing is to be listening and interacting with the music, with the melody, I suppose. The way I look at playing the guitar is mostly just like doing what feels right. Macdara does a little bit more analytical thinking, but I try not to overthink it, I suppose.
And then what about playing tunes on the guitar? How do you approach that? Do you approach it differently, or is there? Or do you approach it in a different way to you say pick up the banjo and play the tunes?
Not really. I think once you have a good grasp on the fretboard, it's just a matter of finding the right place for the guitar or for the tunes on the guitar. I suppose most tunes would be written for the fiddle and then other instruments incorporated, obviously, and you can tell that when you're trying to pick a tune on the guitar versus a 4-string or a 4-course instrument. But I think because the tunes are mostly in keys that resonate with Donnchadha specifically, most of them are, you can find a space for them, whether it's like dropping the octave or whatever it is that you have to do to make it work on the fretboard. But I think most of them, between playing in Donnchadha and just giving it a little thought, I think they all sit fairly well on the guitar.
Are there other guitarists who've inspired you, or who are your biggest influences?
Well, Dice Roll would be my biggest influence. We played a lot of guitar duets, flat picking the guitar, because it was something that we feel that there's kind of a gap in people doing, and I just think there's something really lovely about it. I suppose Dice Roll and Micheál O'Donnell would have, that type of duo would be a big inspiration to me. I played a lot of classical guitar all growing up, so I suppose the influence of having like multiple voices going on is what interests me most about playing tunes on the guitar instead of the banjo, because there just seems like there's so much more options to play. There's a lot more strings, so it makes it easier to have different things going on.
With that in mind, do you want to play?
Yeah. Do you want to sing a song or do you want to play?
I should probably sing a song now.
Yeah, cool.
Lovely. You both sing.
Too a bit.
I do.
I don't think as much as Victoria, but
And very different influences, is it? When you're singing?
yeah, but and somewhat similar though. We would have grown up listening to Scar Bray as well, so we would have had the Tahi Spool influence, but more in an Irish language setting than an English language setting. But yeah, my biggest influence would be Andy Irvine too, vocally. But we probably line up more similarly in other types of music. Victoria's a massive Joni Mitchell fan, and we would have listened to Joni Mitchell a lot, especially at Christmas for some reason. So when we first met, Victoria would teach me Joni Mitchell songs. Great crack.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I suppose we listened to different things growing up, and then I think when we were younger we listened to very different things, I'd say, and then as we grew up our tastes kind of got more similar. Yeah, Joni Mitchell would be my biggest influence, and then probably Nickel Creek, Sarah Watkins, Chris Healy, Sean Watkins would be like just that they would have been my biggest influences before I heard of Joni Mitchell. Joni Mitchell is definitely my favourite singer and my biggest influence now, but I only actually heard of Joni Mitchell when I was 16 or 17. Dahi Sproul. I was in class and he said, to take his words out of context, he said, the Blue album, Joni Mitchell, is the best album ever recorded. And I had never heard it, so I went home and started listening, and then listened to it on repeat for ever since, pretty much. So
it's a broad range of influences. So
yeah,
and just to go totally off topic in traditional music, but Chris Healy influence on your
absolutely, yeah,
well?
definitely. Later, it's interesting. Yeah, Victoria probably would have listened to Nickel Creek before she even heard Irish music. Am I right?
it was the same time when we started listening to Irish music. We also had all the Nickel Creek albums, and that was a huge.
Yeah, whereas I would have gotten into Chris Healy more from Andy Irvine, and then when I went to college, Johnny McCarthy would be encouraging me to play kind of Bach on the bouzouki. So I kind of have an unusual route to that world of Mike Marshall, Chris Healy, all those guys, but it was more through Bach, and then went to listen to their more contemporary stuff, and yeah, he's probably my biggest influence now. So yeah.
So question for you about accompaniment as well, and what's your approach to accompanying music? Or
Yeah, good question. Again, I probably so I teach a lot of bouzouki online now, so I have to think about it. But I probably didn't think about it for years. But I think the first thing I started doing was I was listening to Planksty, and most of the time, if you listen to Planksty, Donal Lunny is laying down chords with some maybe slower moving, or shorter sections of counter melodies, and then Andy Irvine is playing kind of more contrapuntal all the time and isn't really playing that many chords. So I think my first type of thing that I was trying to do subconsciously was trying to kind of mimic the sound of both of them at once. So that usually involves like laying down the chord and then filling for the beats that the chord hasn't changed, and then going to the chord and then filling. We're doing a counter melody line, which is not always that obvious. And then later I started listening to more like Alec Finn type style, so I started experimenting with that, and I kind of came up with a funny way of doing something similar, but completely. It's like where Alec Finn would use his left hand, I would use my right hand, and vice versa, and then those kind of three styles together just kind of got mashed up. And my first bouzouki teacher, Sean O'Farrell, would have also had a very kind of Eamon Doherty influenced kind of style, and he had very much his own style too. So I think it's just a big melting pot of those things.
Would you be able to demonstrate a bit of the hybrid Alec Finn's thing?
Oh, so the Alec Finn thing would be like, so it's very much that if it's a reel, let's just say, it's very much thought of as in 2 as opposed to 4, so that it's like, I'm trying to think of it in my head. So 1, 2. Whereas Alec Finn would he would do. Whereas I do it with my left hand. And then you fill. So it sounds like there's a lot going on, but there actually isn't, because this hand is mostly just doing. So it's kind of cheating, really. But
You can get away with it.
But it also gives you more. It gives you slightly more control for me when you if the music's really fast, that you don't have to be like trying to catch the fiddle pairs. You can just and then when it's using hammer on them, and then you can get like a quadruplet or is it a triplet, I don't know. But as opposed to if you try to do that in your right hand, it would work, but it wouldn't be as smooth. So yeah.
It always strikes me about your playing's a remarkable sense of harmony as well. Where does that come from?
Well, first of all, probably my original sense of harmony would have been like I find amazing how much Planxty and the Bothy band, but particularly Planxty did with mostly diatonic harmony. That like sometimes I would probably prefer just diatonic harmony done well as opposed to chromatic harmony done not so well. But then when I was like 14, I well maybe a little younger, I actually first met Derek Hickey like where we first started playing together kind of in Friels, and he had kind of a different style of harmony which used the cycle fifths a lot, so had like the secondary dominance chord, so that was kind of fun, but very fun. And then when I went to college we did like loads of harmony and stuff, so I was trying to work in as much of that without completely disgracing any tune. So there's the other cool stuff you can do from like older styles of music, like in some tunes you can work in things that they would have used in like Renaissance music, such as like the Neapolitan sixth chord, so that tune comes to mind, so you can do, and that's how they would have done it in like whatever Germany and early Baroque period. So it's cool to mess around with it, but I think when you're an accompanist, it's all about knowing when to do something and when not to do it. So if I'm playing with Derek or Victoria or someone who I know loves harmony, you can do that. But if you're playing with someone that's very much about the tune, you just kind of want to keep it a bit simpler, I think.
Yeah, and it's like my biggest influence is Steve Cooney, and Cooney just plays in diatonic harmony.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect example.
It's brilliant.
And all the voice leading is very careful, and he utilizes every chord in the diatonic. Like a lot of probably players who play more chromatic stuff would often maybe underuse, well, in comparison to Steve, like chord 2, like and chord 3 maybe. So he's really good at that type of stuff. I think it's great.
Yeah, it's a great feel for how the whole scale works in
relation. Exactly.
Stuff,
yeah, and it's not that he doesn't know the chromatic stuff. He's just choosing to focus more on the other stuff. So which is like, isn't it what they say about making music is choosing what not to do and not what to do. Yeah.
And I'll ask you a slightly more controversial question. What aspects of accompaniment in sort of contemporary performance of traditional music do you not like?
That's a good question. Well, I think sometimes it depends on the setting. For instance, I really love John Doyle. I think it's amazing. But one of the best things about John Doyle is that there's a video on YouTube where he's playing with James Keane, and he's an amazing accompanist, because when you're playing with Mick McCauley or whoever, like Dermot Byrne or whatever, they're playing like very technical and very fast, and you can dig in. But when he's playing with James, who's a more traditional player, he's so respectful of the tradition that he came from. And I think that's, people kind of misinterpret sometimes that like we don't have to have one or the other. It's just about having the right thing at the right time, I think. And Steve Cooney's a great example of that too. If you listen to the album he made with Micheál O'Hine versus like playing with Dermot Byrne, it's a very different like thing. So I think it's all just about a mix. But maybe it frustrates me at times when people have tricks and they kind of use the tricks all the time regardless of the setting, when I think accompaniment has always been a really social thing. And I think one of the nicest feelings you can ever have is like, and everyone should try this, I think, is if you, we were going to Newfoundland with Ciarán Galván, and he got me to play with his daughter who had never been accompanied before. and she was like, wow, this feels so cool. And that's what I think accompaniment is about, is matching the feeling that the player is wanting to convey or whatever, and adding your own touch too, but without completely taking over. So I think if you want to completely take over, that's what solo music is for. So
it's not just about the musical connection, it's the emotional connection.
And the emotional quality of chords. Yeah. So
how about yourself? Is there any other opinions you have on?
I agree. Yeah, that's very much what I would think. I think I kind of think of it as a conversation, and if you're, I don't really like in a conversation when someone's constantly like interrupting you or like steamrolling you. You have to be listening, and I think that's the only thing that can be frustrating. I think everyone finds that when someone is in a musical setting and they're just kind of doing their own thing and they're not listening, and obviously that's frustrating if it's all melody players, but it kind of takes a whole new level of frustration when it's an accompaniment player taking it over, because there's it's supposed to be a conversation. It's like if you were, speaking a different language to someone, and even though they're not understanding you, you just keep speaking. It's like it doesn't make any sense.
And there's an interesting stereotype of like you have to know the tune, which I agree with. But sometimes I think I hear sometimes in sessions and stuff that I think the person would actually be better accomplished if they didn't know the tune, because they have like a plan. But then the accordion player or whoever might have like a E minor bass, but they practiced a G or whatever, and it's like it's about yes, know the tune, but also listen as if you've never heard the tune before in your life, because I think that's true for melody musicians too. Like I don't think it's exclusive. Yeah.
You have to be flexible as well.
Yeah, flexible, exactly. Not to be so set in your ways.
We have to finish up shortly. We have one last question for you, and tell me about the instruments that you're playing.
Oh yeah, so I made this bouzouki about 5 years ago or something, and I made this guitar 6 years ago, and I made this guitar more recently. So they actually match very well together. Whenever we do recording stuff, and if we haven't rehearsed something very well and it's kind of more improvised, sometimes like we get lost as to who played what, because they both have maple back and sides. This has a cedar top and that has a spruce top, but usually bouzouki's would be a bit harsher, so the cedar kind of mellows this out, and the guitar is a very bright guitar, so they kind of meet in the middle a little bit.
And the small body.
And the small body as well, yeah. So that's a copy of a 00 Gibson, and this is kind of my own design, based very much on a Paul Doyle, which was based on apparently an early cittern made in Dublin by Perry, I think. Yeah.
An interesting story about this guitar is Macdara took a notion to make me a guitar when we were going out, and he thought that a 00 Gibson 00 would suit me, so he got plans to kind of go off vaguely, and then it was during COVID. The Joni Mitchell, all the old albums were released, and the cover is her playing a Gibson 00. So it's kind of perfect. It's like it's the perfect guitar.
It's meant to be.
It's meant to be.
Yeah. And who are some of your influences as a
maker? My biggest influence growing up was probably Stefan Sobel, through Andy Irvine as well, but I just thought his instruments were like so amazingly different. But then all the main makers like Joe Foley, more personal friends who helped me were like Paddy Clear and Ulson Walsh when I was starting out. Everyone really, but I suppose I probably took a lot of influence from the guitar world in terms of bracing and stuff. So Paul Doyle as well, like my bouzouki I used to play before I made my own was a Paul Doyle bouzouki, and it was a really nice bouzouki, so I thought it was maybe a little bit underbuilt, so it was just about trying to keep as much of the sound but change more structural, have more structural integrity. And then later on I met Rory Dowling, and he's amazing. I know you have one of his guitars. Yeah, so he's an amazing luthier, and so whenever I have a question I kind of go to him now.
Yeah, Rory's amazing. I've never met anyone like Rory.
Yeah, he's a genius. Yeah.
Listen, I could happily talk about guitars
and
instruments all day, but we're going to play one last tune for us. Thanks for coming on.
It was cool. Svammi nachtung tai nar jain shikdam yadi cha Gross ni hatai roof curtain vaiden the father han Gmiam sin he hatai roof curtain vaiden father Smurvai for fargan vai stai noch goodbye Snow is fai sni vai to Han kies a glach gan vaid scan pine thing to turn a hole Ha bridugus cum gachlo in sang of the straw the do Sa tahir bach drachwa in Jackson vouch to draw you Svammi vis et fisk Gnachte henne hagebien Ha pamas milet in et snigen Tasse hitjian macha Na gringskjel disken Twitch near wood Dat rein Is my for fire pay Beth Curtis on the Dugan Is fan of my mehu the Hitkuna is Paris Hang for Georgie hoing a whole sword hound and passion Her book the vrouw is town sheer the chashe go Is jou to boek het jou so kan so Heidi My border fairly here of queer because Ni vainchen gaun we word man review am walk road Ham habit shirt can ni come the tree push gas so Is captain should not fight inside for so not fire